Good morning, traders. It is today's Traders Daily Discipline for Tuesday, the 25th of November, 2025. And I'm your host, Jason Allen, the Lion of LaSalle Street. Good to be back with you. I have just one little piece of house cleaning. Just want to remind all of our new guys that we're going to be making it a short week. Tomorrow is our last broadcast for the Daily Discipline until next week, Monday. And my weekly performance summary, which I normally release on Saturday. I haven't decided if I'm going to do one yet because we're not really going anywhere. It's been, I mean, in the markets, it's been kind of a quiet start to the week. Not a lot of price action, but we'll see. So keep your hearts and minds open for the weekly performance summary on Saturday. We'll see if I set it out there. Plus, it's a holiday weekend, and you should have your minds on something other than this crazy business for a few days anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and get to work for today's Traders Daily Discipline. And here's our quote to get us started. Where we have strong emotions, we're liable to fool ourselves. And that was from Carl Sagan. For those of you that don't know Carl Sagan, he's passed away now, but he is or was a astrophysicist and astronomer. Contributed a lot to the public understanding of the cosmos. Actually, did a show called Cosmos, which was on PBS, and interesting. It was state of the art television at the time. For those of you who haven't seen it, in fact, Neil deGrasse, who's also an astronomer, did a remake of Cosmos that was on one of the cable channels, and wasn't as good of a show, but certainly more, I guess, computer animated. Anyway, I remember watching Cosmos when I was a kid. In fact, I got the book. Forgot the title of the book now, but it was the story of how the gold plate got to be on the Voyager uh, satellite, not satellites, but probes, the ones that are 55 years ago, I think, something like that. They were launched, and they're still producing data and sending information back to astronomers here on Earth about the state of the heliosphere, the end of the sun's influence in the cosmos, and the transition to interstellar space. And they're finding out that there's all kinds of things going on in outer space that was not expected. Fascinating stuff, the Voyager program. Anyway, all that being said, that's your education for today. Let's get to your knowledge of the markets for today. I like what Carl said, though. We have strong emotions. We're liable to fool ourselves. You know, as traders, one of the things that we will always have to deal with, it never goes away, is the issue of how our emotions are managed in our day to day participation. Everybody has emotions. It's nothing wrong with emotions. Whatever your emotions are when you trade, good to have them. The problem is you cannot let them in any way, shape, or form influence your willingness to execute. When you have really strong emotions about something like, as a matter of fact, I had this week, is that there's a top forming in the dollar yen. Really strong belief about that. And when the first two or three attempts to get short from the top didn't happen, I started getting angry. Real, like, what the hell? Then, after I got positioned with a little bit larger position, because the higher it goes, the harder the fall. I want to make money on that. The probability is really good for a larger position to make a lot of money, in my view. Well, I got positioned, started working, and I started feeling good about that. Strong positive emotion. And then earlier this week, stopped out on a short rally. I mean, the way I order stops based on how markets participate, certain trade action is inconclusive, not a good idea to be in. So I was taken out. And that stall happened, needless to say. Right at that point where I have made thousands of studies on these positions in these markets and how they work. Right at the point where there was a strong probability that short wasn't going to work, better to be out, wait for the next high and try it again. One pip took me out, then started to go my way again. You can imagine the frustration and oh, you bastards. But, what do you do? Well, if you're not careful, what do? You trade because you're angry. You don't trade because the opportunity's back. Well, it takes some time to figure that out. Believe me, it takes time to figure that out. And if you're not careful, you're liable to fool yourself that you've got a real skill set when in fact you're just being emotional in the markets, and that's a recipe for disaster. So I want to encourage you to remember having strong emotions is normal, natural, it's going to happen. Nothing wrong with that. But you can't let your emotions dictate how you're going to participate. You need to, in the midst of that battle, when your emotions are running high, because everything that's supposed to happen is not happening, but it has happened and it will happen again, and you know it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet according to the way you thought it would happen, and that's why you're mad. All of that crap going around in your head, right? Listen to me when I tell you this. This is really, really accurate. All you have to do is set all that aside, look back at your execution rules, take a deep breath, and wait for the next time the signal is on. That's it. Let all the emotion go, stick to the plan, and you will avoid all of the headaches and problems that being right too early can mean, or being correct but not accurate. You ever had that problem where you were absolutely correct what the market's going to do, but you missed your entry by 1 pip 3 times trying to get position, then it was too late? You can be correct but not accurate. So, in any case, let's leave all that fun stuff for next time, and let's just focus on one thing today. If your emotions show up in trading, don't condemn yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say, oh, I did something wrong. Don't do that. Take a deep breath, walk away from the screen, refocus on your rule set for playing the game, and recenter your thinking. That's all you got to do. And that becomes a habit when you do that enough over enough length of time and you do it often enough. It becomes a habit. And that habit is wonderful to have because it'll save you all the headache and heartache, which you probably had before, of all those emotional trades done for all the wrong reasons and none of them work. How many times do we have to hit ourselves in the hammer, in the head with our hammer, before we realize, wait a minute, let's just stick to the game plan. Forget all the rest of that. So my emotions show up. So what? That means I'm human. You want that. You don't want to become a robot doing this. So, in any case, guys, thanks for coming today. My pleasure to share a few thoughts of wisdom with you. And then we'll see you on Wednesday. Let's get ready for the weekend. Enjoy our friends and family, right? Hey, guys, thanks. See you next time.